So, what could the world's hottest AI lab, the original cryptocurrency, and a payroll company that's been around for 50 years possibly have in common? I mean, on the surface, you'd think absolutely nothing. But trust me, this unlikely trio, they tell us everything we need to know about the state of fintech right now. Let's break it down.
At first glance, it seems like a riddle, right? But if you look a little closer, you'll see that OpenAI, Bitcoin, and Paychex actually represent three fundamental and, wildly different pillars of today's financial universe. You've got the dream, you've got the risk, and you've got the reality.
To really make sense of all this, let's think of them as three different characters on the fintech stage. First, you have the rock star. That's OpenAI, with its absolutely massive trillion-dollar ambitions. Then you've got the rebel, Bitcoin, always bringing the drama and those crypto chills. And finally, there's the professional, which is Paychex, just reliably delivering those payroll thrills. So let's start with the headliner, shall we?
All right, first up, the rockstar, OpenAI. This is the company that has just completely captured everyone's imagination. And now it's got Wall Street's attention in a huge, huge way.
Yeah, $1 trillion. I mean, just let that number sink in. That's the staggering valuation that OpenAI is reportedly aiming for when it eventually goes public. A move like that would instantly put it in the same league as giants like Microsoft and Apple. It's just a jaw-dropping number for a company that, really, just a few years ago, didn't even have a clear way to make money. And its rise has been nothing short of meteoric. I mean, think about it. Started back in 2015 as a pure research lab, a nonprofit. Then, by 2019, it made this really clever pivot to a capped profit model so it could actually raise some serious cash. And now, the chatter is all about a potential 2026 IPO, which could be one of the biggest in history. That is just an incredible trajectory.
So what's the real takeaway here? Well, you can kind of think of OpenAI as the Beyoncé of tech. It just keeps dropping these chart-topping hits, GPT-4, Sora, DALL-E, and now it's basically getting the entire financial world hyped up for its blockbuster stadium tour on the public markets. The generative AI gold rush is on.
Okay, now for our second character, Bitcoin. We are shifting gears hard here. We're going from world-changing ambition to the wild, unpredictable roller coaster ride of crypto. And lately, well, that ride has been getting a little bumpy.
So Bitcoin's taken a pretty decent hit recently, falling from its highs. And this isn't just a story about Bitcoin, right? This pullback creates a ripple effect. It hits the stocks of companies like Coinbase and Block. Basically, anyone tied to the digital asset space feels it. If you've been in crypto for any amount of time, this feeling is probably pretty familiar. Bitcoin is kind of like that flaky friend who swears they've changed and then they show up an hour late to brunch acting like nothing happened. It can be super frustrating for sure. But it's also part of the appeal. Because here's the thing with Bitcoin. Ultimately, the constant ups and downs, the hangovers, and the hype, they aren't bugs in the system. They are the system. This volatility, it's a core feature, and it's constantly testing just how strong its investors' nerves really are. And finally, in a total 180 from all that drama, we've got our third character, Paychex. While AI is chasing these trillion-dollar dreams, and crypto is kind of chasing its own tail, this company is just quietly and efficiently getting the job done. I mean, just look at the numbers. Paychex's recent performance shows you exactly why it's the professional in this group. Revenue is up a really solid 7% for last year, hitting over $1.5 billion for the quarter. And yeah, okay, the operating margin dipped a little bit because they're investing in new tech, but investors barely even blinked. They know the core business is just incredibly stable. Paychex is basically the reliable barista of the financial world. There's no flash, there's no drama, just consistent results, day in and day out. In a world that is obsessed with disruption, this company is a quiet reminder that the most fundamental economic activity of all, just getting people paid, is also one of the most durable business models there is.
So what happens when you put the rock star, the rebel, and the professional all on the same stage? Well, you get a surprisingly complete picture of the entire modern fintech landscape.
All right, let's recap real quick. You've got OpenAI, our rock star, prepping for what might just be a $1 trillion IPO mic drop. You have Bitcoin, the rebel, whose wild volatility is both its biggest risk and, weirdly, its main feature. And then you have Paychex, the professional, proving that slow, steady growth is the engine that actually keeps the economy running.
What this trio really shows us is that fintech touches every single part of our lives,
From the futuristic dream of AI, to the high-stakes risk of digital assets, all the way to the simple reality of just getting a paycheck. So the real question is, in this whole universe of dreams and risks and realities, where do you fit in?